Hello YouTube and welcome to Rob's Arcade. As per usual, I'm your host Rob, and we're going to be kicking off football season with a special NFL themed episode.
I love football, and I'm really looking forward to this season, especially after the way last season ended for my favorite team. That game was absolutely heartbreaking. The good news is that I was able to recreate that game in video game form with much different results. As a matter of fact, I've recreated quite a few football memories in video game form over the years. Football video games were a staple of my childhood, and I'm sure a lot of yours as well. How about we take a look at arguably the greatest football video game ever made for the NES in the Classic Game Showcase. After that, we can put our controllers down and pick up our paper and pencils and have an art class. I'll teach all of my Player 2s how to draw a Funko Pop style football player. Now I know this looks a little complicated, but it's a lot easier than it looks because we're going to draw this fella using only easy to draw simple shapes.
Now you can personalize your football player drawing any way you want, but me, I'm obviously a Buffalo Bills fan. So my drawing is going to be of Bills quarterback Josh Allen. Now speaking of the Buffalo Bills, if you're a fan just like me, you're going to love this.
I'm giving away 2 special edition caricature posters to a couple of my talented Player 2s. These limited edition 16x20 prints of Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen were designed and signed by yours truly and generously donated by some of my most supportive Player 2s. To get these prints, all you have to do is send a photo of your drawing of this episode's art class to one of the social media links listed in the description below. 2 lucky Player 2s will be randomly selected to receive the poster, and everyone who submits their artwork will have it included in a future episode of Rob's Arcade. We'll start our art class shortly, but first, let's check out an awesome football video game in the Classic Game Showcase. Nowadays, fans of football video games can look forward to yearly installments of the Madden franchise, but back in the early days of gaming, quality football titles were tough to find. There are various console and handheld games which tried to replicate the experience of throwing touchdown passes, but unfortunately the technology of the time period did not allow gamers to experience anything close to the immersive gameplay we have today. The NES arrived on the scene with titles like 10-Yard Fight and LJN's NFL, but these games didn't provide much to gamers looking for a quality 8-bit football action. NES owners did not receive a decent football game until 1989, but the game they did receive is not only one of the best football titles ever, it's one of the best titles ever released for the system, period. That game is Tecmo Bowl. Tecmo Bowl for the NES was a port of the original 1987 arcade game of the same name. This title did not have a license to use NFL team names and player likenesses. In fact, only 2 fictional teams were selectable. But this game stands out due to its large 2-monitor cabinet, detailed graphics, support for up to 4 players, and super fun gameplay. The NES port features less spectacular graphics and support for only 2 players, but the core gameplay is just as fun and accessible as its arcade counterpart. And while Tecmo Bowl is arguably the best interpretation of the NFL in video game form up until this point, there are a few differences between this game and a typical NFL broadcast. For starters, this title does not have an NFL license to use actual team names. What it does have, however, is a deal with the NFL Players Association to use player names, rosters, and statistics from the 1987 and 1988 seasons. Another way Tecmo Bowl varies from the actual NFL is by only having 9 players from each team on the field at a time as opposed to the NFL's 11 players. The lack of players on the field does not affect gameplay in the least, and this game is still a blast to play. Players can choose between 3 gameplay modes: 1-player, 2-player, and coach. In 1-player mode, the player can choose their favorite team and take on the computer. After each victory, the player is given a password to continue their quest for the championship. 2-player mode features 2 players battling each other in an exhibition game, and in coach mode, players only choose the plays while the computer simulates the results. Now speaking of plays, the playbook consists of 4 offensive plays. When on defense, a player attempts to anticipate the other player's choice and select the same play, which if successful, results in a total collapse of the offensive line and leads to big defensive plays like sacks and tackles in the backfield. When playing in 2-player mode, it's a good idea to cover your controller, because some unscrupulous players will sneak a peek at what player you're picking and try to get an advantage. Not saying I've ever done anything like this, but I have heard about it. Now, as awesome as Tecmo Bowl was, the sequel was even better. Tecmo Super Bowl was released for the NES in 1991 and took everything that worked from the first title and expanded on it. Not only did this game have the rights to use players from the 1991 and 1992 rosters, they could finally use the NFL teams they played for as well. The playbook was expanded, and the presentation was upgraded with more cutscenes and higher production value overall. This title perfected the Tecmo Bowl experience, and its legacy lives on to this very day as a community of modders release a new version every year with updated rosters. Tecmo Bowl has been released in a variety of systems over the years, but in my opinion, nothing captures the magic that these titles had on the original NES. These games still hold up, and while modern football games manage to capture the NFL experience in much greater detail, there is still something so fun about the simple, stripped-down gameplay of the Tecmo Bowl titles. These games are true classics, and their lasting legacy can be seen even 35 years after the game's original release. If you've never played these true pieces of gaming history, I highly recommend giving these titles a shot. You won't be disappointed. Unless you're playing against Los Angeles. Then you'll be really disappointed because Bo Jackson is unstoppable in this game. Trust me.
Okay, Player 2s, let's get started with our art class. We're going to use the same process we always use. Step 1 is guideline step. We're going to take our pencils and we're going to press very lightly. We're kind of building up on the base of the drawing right now. So eventually we're going to go in and we're going to erase all these guidelines. I also have to apologize for my voice. Player 2s, I am coming off one really bad flu bug. So I know I sound terrible, but I'm not going to let anything get in the way of me giving you guys a fun class. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to draw an oval, but the oval will kind of be at a little bit of an angle. So if you need to turn your paper, go ahead. Inside this oval, we're going to draw a little curved guideline right through right about here. Now, this entire image is going to be 2 heads tall. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take our fingers right here and kind of measure how big that we drew the head, go down and draw a line estimating at the bottom about how big 2 heads tall exactly is. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a square. Then we're going to draw a circle. So this would be for a body shape, this would be for a shoulder pad. Over here we're going to draw a smaller circle with a little rectangle on the bottom there. So that will be for the sleeve. We're going to draw his midsection, which would be another square. And then we'll draw his legs. At the bottom, 2 ovals for his feet. So we should have something that looks very similar to this, like this so far. Excuse me, Player 2s. Something should look very similar to this. If it doesn't look like this, that's okay. We can fix it along the way. Again, this is why we press lightly with our pencils. This is why this is on YouTube. We can pause, we can rewind, we can fast forward. We can do anything that we need to do to make sure that you control this image and make it your own. So we're going to do the arms, which are pretty much just rectangles. Then we'll draw a square at the end for the wristband. Over here, we're going to draw another rectangle right there. Another rectangle here, and a square at the end of that for the sleeve. Now, this is probably the hardest part of this drawing, so bear with me, player twos. I'm going to break it down so it's very easy. The hands. For the hand holding the football, it's going to be one oval, two ovals, and then another oval up here. When we get to the next step and we actually start adding more detail and stuff, we can clean this up a little bit. But that's basically the guideline for the hand. This other hand is the more difficult one. So we're going to draw a circle for the base. Inside the circle, again, very lightly, we're going to draw a circle, smaller one, and on top of that, an oval. Next to that, we're going to draw a straight line up, and then a curve, I'm sorry, an oval right there, and a straight line down. We're going to do something very similar to what we just did right there, but we're going to make it a little bit longer because his finger will be a little bit longer. So we'll have something that looks like this. Then we're going to draw an oval, have it come around like this, and a curve and have it come around like this. Connect it to there. So there we have both hands. We're going to draw a little guideline down the middle of the body shape right here to kind of help us keep everything even there. And for the football, we're just going to draw an oblong football shape. So I think it might be a little bit easier to draw a curve in the middle. Maybe even, again, right, you see, even I make mistakes. The curve will be right about here. And then we would just add the football shape to right about there. And again, we could clean this up in later step. This is just the guidelines, this is kind of just showing us where everything is going to go. So now we're going to start adding some details to this, and this is where the image really takes shape. This is where the drawing part is actually done. So we're going to draw a diagonal line, a slightly diagonal line, excuse me, right about here, and then one right about there. We're going to try to make them parallel to each other. Inside these lines, we're going to draw an eyebrow shape, another eyebrow shape, an eyeball, a nose, which is a backwards letter L, and then we're going to draw a thicker shape around it, kind of like a shadow right there. And then we're going to draw a smile. So a curve with a little letter C at the end of it. Right down around like this. And pulls them off right there. And we'll do it there. So we should have something that looks like this. So now we're going to start adding more details and stuff and adding the helmet, which, excuse me, player twos, we're going to be drawing through. So which pretty much means we're going to be drawing right on top of what we've already drawn, but because we're pressing lightly with our pencils, we'll be able to go in, erase the lines that we don't need, and be able to finish the whole thing when we actually make our finished piece. So we're going to start drawing the helmet. So starting right about here, we're going to go down, like this. So straight line down, slightly diagonal line down, straight line down, slightly diagonal line down. We're going to follow our guideline right here, go all the way around, and then bring it to a little curve. So something like this, kind of like a little bit of a fish hook. We're going to kind of take the head shape and kind of straighten it, still slightly curved, but straighten it out a little bit. So this line that we originally did for our guideline was basically just a base to follow. We're going to change the head shape just a little bit. We're going to do the rest of the helmet by going here. We're going to try to keep this the same width as the other part. And we're going to go down here. And we're going to go all the way around here. The same thing that we did before with a slightly little curve in it. So we're going to go all the way around there. Kind of covering the nose a little bit. And same thing down here. Bring it down around here. Bring it through there. So I know this seems very, very difficult, player twos, but if we keep practicing, if we keep following the guidelines, we're going to have an awesome picture when we're finished. So we're going to draw 2 lines here, 2 lines there. We're going to go over, starting right about here, and we're going to go a little bit, we're going to make our original oval a little bit larger to accommodate the extra space for the helmet. Excuse me, player twos. So we do something similar to this. And about 2 curved lines here. And a little rectangle right there. A little circle for the little ear hole. So there we have the head shape. I know this is very complicated, so for my player twos, you are all very talented. All the artwork that I've seen from some of these other classes and stuff shows that you guys can take anything out. So really quick, I'm just going to take my eraser and just go through and erase. You don't have to do this. I'm just trying to do this for your benefit. And just erase some of the pencil lines and stuff, some of the guidelines to kind of show what this would actually look like without the extra stuff drawn through it. So again, if we're pressing very lightly, we should be able to do this. Right now we're just going to add some more detail. So we're going to draw a curve here. Now I pressed a little harder just to make it stick out a little bit more for my player twos to see. Excuse me. So we did a little curve there. I'm going to go over the shoulder right here again, because it's drawing through again. Over the arm. And then I'm only going to go over certain parts of the front. So right there. And then right there. I'm going to draw a little curve right here, just for a little hand detail. And then I'm going to go over the finger. And don't press as hard as I am, because I'm pressing this hard just so it stands out to all my player twos. Now we're going to do the other arm. So this is going to be one straight curve that connects to here, followed by just a little curve in here for detail. Oops. Sleeve, we're going to move that a little bit there, a little bit there. Straight line through here. Down and around over here. So now we have the shape of his body. We can draw whichever player is your favorite, whether you played and you want to do your uniform, you want to make this cartoon character you want to do your favorite football player, you can put their numbers on here, you can put their details and stuff. And we'll do that in a much later step. But again, this is your drawing. We're going to personalize it any way that you want. Draw a little straight line here just because the uniform is being pulled up a little bit. Follow our straight line down here for his pants. Straight line across. We draw a belt, which is just a little rectangle right here. Now on his legs, We're going to follow our line down here a little bit, and then we're going to draw a rectangle. Just kind of build it up a little bit for us, thigh pads. On both sides right here. So just a little rectangle there. And close it off down there. So we should have his pants, and it should look just like that. Again, little line here. Rectangle there for the pants. Go for the thigh pads, excuse me, then for the pants. And then we're just going to finish up by bringing this down to his legs. We're going to add a triangle shape there for the tongue of the shoe. Same thing with this one. Bring it down, and then we're going to go over our ovals for our feet and make them both exactly the same size. Okay, player 2 is one more thing, and then we're almost done. We're going to go over his arm. We've already got all the guidelines for it right here, so we're just going to go over a little bit thicker. And then we're just going to make this curve here. Curve here. We're not going to go over the guideline part right there. Right there, and then we're going to go around the front. Then we're going to add the laces to the football, where we're going to go around this little shape that we did here, this little curved line. Make a rectangle following that guideline. Just go over it and do 1, 2, 3 laces. And there you have it, player 2. So we've just drawn a football player. This is the line art stage. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our black felt tip pen or black magic marker, and we're going to ink over only the necessary lines, not the guidelines. So the lines that we just did in step 2. Now we're going to do this really, really fast. There you have it, player 2s. Now we have a completely inked, finished football player drawing. Let it sit for a few minutes, wait for the ink to dry, then take your erasers and erase all of the pencil lines. Not just the guidelines, all of the pencil lines. I can't wait to see how you all handle this episode, and I'll see you all at the next art class.